Despite being the bread and butter of most DC and Marvel superhero movies, plenty of action scenes from across the genre failed to deliver. For many superhero movies, high-octane moments are the most memorable, with sequences like the Leipzig-Halle Airport battle in Captain America, Civil War, or the titular brawl in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice often being cornerstone moments. This gives rise to high expectations that some fail to clear, and makes it stand to reason that the worst superhero action scenes often appear in the lowest regarded superhero movies. The worst action scenes in superhero movies often share some key criticisms. Poor CGI, lackluster choreography, or mind-numbing leaps in logic are three clear indicators that an action sequence will fail to land with most audiences. With that in mind, here are some of the worst culprits, along with the reasons why they failed to excite audiences as much as they perhaps should have. 10. Black Panther's CGI-heavy final fight. Black Panther's climactic duel occurs between a deposed T'Challa and his despotic cousin, N'Jadaka aka Killmonger, as the former fights to reclaim his kingdom and halt Killmonger's destructive global revolution. This depicts the two in a second tooth and nail fight using their vibranium suits to their fullest extent. Given these suits would typically make each of them invulnerable, Black Panther uses the highly advanced Wakandan train system as a plot device as it interferes with the suits and exposes patches of vulnerable flesh underneath, ultimately leading to T'Challa's victory, as he fatally stabs his cousin. Black Panther proves that even the MCU's highest-rated movie isn't impervious to subpar moments, as this fight sticks in the minds of fans for the wrong reasons. While the choreography is typically laudable, the CGI rendering of their suits has drawn a substantial amount of ire. While Black Panther's tactics were sound, the way in which Black Panther conveys the deterioration of their vibranium suits is distracting. 9. Superman throws his S symbol in Superman 2. Superman 2 depicts the classic DC Comics rivalry between the titular hero and General Zod, who invades Earth in pursuit of Kal-El to wreak vengeance on the last Kryptonian after being imprisoned in the Phantom Zone. Their fight culminates with Zod and his lackeys, Na and Nursa, in Superman's Fortress of Solitude for a showdown. Before Superman outsmarts the trio and drains them of their powers, he manages to thwart Na''s first attempt at attacking him by throwing what can only be described as a cellophane S symbol at his attacker, temporarily incapacitating him. This is the most baffling scene in the otherwise widely celebrated sequel. Superman displays a dizzying array of superpowers in this movie, with another questionable one being his memory-wiping kiss, but the slightly hindering S symbol is as confusing as it is unnecessary. This is the only instance in which Superman deploys this power, which is no wonder considering its only use is to inconvenience his enemies temporarily. 8. Wolverine fights Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. The final fight in X-Men Origins, Wolverine pits the titular mutant against the heavily experimented on Wade Wilson, one of superhero cinema's most maligned adaptations. Dubbed Weapon 11, this version of Deadpool has been bequeathed with a litany of superpowers drawn from the DNA of other mutants, making this the toughest fight Wolverine has faced thus far. Although he struggles against the superpowered Wade Wilson, he ultimately gains the upper hand by beheading his enemy, though this would later prove insufficient in killing Deadpool. Deadpool's comic-inaccurate array of powers is also baffling, which includes katana blades unsheathed from his skeleton, Cyclops optic blasts, accelerated healing factor, teleportation. X-Men Origins. Wolverine is the first example of a lambasted action sequence occurring in a generally lambasted movie. This version of Deadpool is easily the silliest aspect of X-Men Origins. Wolverine, for the ridiculous collection of superpowers and the fact that it runs roughshod over the iconic Merc with a mouth from Marvel Comics, a mantle that would elude this mouthless monstrosity. While X-Men Origins, Wolverine earns ire for many mind-numbing moments. This climactic fight made sure to end the movie on a bum note. 6. The Suicide Squad vs. Enchantress and Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is the DCU's worst-rated movie, and much of that ire is directed towards its main antagonist, Enchantress, and the climactic final fight between her and the titular team. The chaotic scene saw Task Force X struggling to defeat a distinctly mystical, almost godlike adversary when their most powerful member, El Diablo, was able to control fire and sacrificed himself before the final hurdle. Nevertheless, Harley Quinn successfully outsmarted Enchantress by feigning fealty before slicing her heart from her chest, providing an opening for Deadshot and Killer Croc to destroy the world-ending superweapon in a drawn-out, slow-motion sequence. This entire fight sequence is difficult to make out and difficult to feel invested in. As Enchantress' superweapon makes short work of a huge warship, and she telekinetically rips the squad's weapon from their hands, it's hard to overlook the fact that there should really be no contest in this fight. Setting aside the huge power gulf between Enchantress and her adversaries, the teamwork displayed by Task Force X feels a little out of the blue, with their sudden adoration of one another hinging on one unconvincing conversation in a bar. 5. Barry Allen rescues babies in The Flash. The Flash contains a rare instance of a maligned action sequence that is not part of a fight. In a scene that helps to demonstrate the nature of Barry Allen's powers, the Flash rescues several newborn babies, a health professional, and a therapy dog, as they tumble from a collapsing building. The sequence shows how the Speed Force essentially slows time, allowing the Flash to accomplish incredible feats of speed and physics, which he uses to rescue the babies from several perilous situations and the fall itself. The scene could be seen as nothing short of horrific were it not indicative of the DCU's tonal pivot towards more humor. Depicting newborns tumbling from a collapsing building, showing one close to being impaled by knives, and placing one of them in a microwave feels decidedly at odds with the otherwise cartoonish rescue sequence. The babies are additionally rendered with particularly shoddy CGI, which adds to the Looney Tunes atmosphere of the whole scene. It also exacerbates the Flash's clownish persona, as a scene in which he is supposed to appear heroic is decidedly slapstick. 4. Daredevil and Elektra flirt fight in a playground. 2003's Daredevil featured Ben Affleck's Matt Murdock and Jennifer Garner's Elektra Natchios in a classic pairing from the comics. Their early, somewhat problematic encounter sees Matt doggedly attempting to learn Elektra's name, which leads to a highly choreographed fight in a children's playground. They continue to converse with cheesy one-liners as they demonstrate their equivalent skill sets, acrobatically using playground paraphernalia during their tussle before Elektra gains the upper hand and finally reveals her name. The fight between Matt and Elektra certainly feels warranted after Matt refuses to take no for an answer and even grabs Elektra's wrist in a move that harms his overall likability. It also feels wildly inappropriate for these two adults to be wailing on each other in plain view of some enthused children, complete with suggestive smirks and grapples. Especially through the lens of today's standards, it is difficult not to cringe at this early Daredevil action sequence. 3. Rhino is taken out by Buffalo and Kraven. Kraven the Hunter debuted several iconic villains from Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, with Rhino being one of Kraven's primary adversaries. Kraven the Hunter adapted this version of Rhino to have a condition that turns his skin into a highly durable, rock-like substance. The movie culminated in a frenetic sequence in which Kraven faced off against Rhino, largely failing to surpass Rhino's superior strength and durability before locating a weak point, stabbing him, and throwing him into an allied herd of stampeding buffalo. Rhino's death was confusing, to say the least. Despite being portrayed as nigh indestructible and strong enough to stop a speeding truck in its tracks, Rhino being finished off by several buffalo doesn't make much sense. Kraven the Hunter is also prone to shoddy CGI, with Rhino situated squarely in the uncanny valley, and the scene in which he is trampled by buffalo looking less than believable. Ultimately, Rhino fell victim to a herd of seemingly super buffalo capable of crushing several heavy-duty vehicles. 2. Madam Web's final fight. Madam Web is largely believed to be one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and the final action sequence helps demonstrate why. The final fight depicts Cassie Webb wielding her precognitive powers to protect the three future Spider-Women from exploding fireworks on a collapsing condemned building and a murderous Ezekiel Sims. At one point, Webb is able to manifest projections of herself to offer support to the girls when they are put in dangerous positions. After getting them to safety, she lures Sims into the right spot to be crushed by a falling Pepsi-Cola sign. The final action sequence in Madame Web is the embodiment of the movie's overall silliness. It's admittedly difficult to incorporate Madame Web's powers of precognition into a fight, especially when she is no hand-to-hand aficionado, which this sequence helped to demonstrate. Madame Web's projections also felt both confusing and pointless, making it seem as though they were shoehorned in to make her powers more exciting. The culmination was also distinctly unceremonious, with Ezekiel Sims being killed instantly by some on-the-nose product placement.